And at number 10, didn't earn it. If you didn't already know, Gwyneth was born into Hollywood royalty, which definitely gave her a leg up in the business. Paltrow's late father, Bruce Paltrow, was a writer, director, and producer known for television shows like The White Shadow and Saint Elsewhere. He even had Gwyneth star in one of his last movies. Then there's Paltrow's mother, Blythe Danner, who is a Tony and Emmy Award winner who has appeared in countless films. But that's not all. Gwyneth's godfather is legendary director Steven Spielberg. Since she has so many connections, it's no surprise that she went into acting. But when accused of getting a helping hand, Paltrow denies this and claims that her parents did not help her whatsoever. When asked about her familial connections, Gwyneth said, quote, "He, my father, said, 'You are completely on your own,' so he never gave me anything. I never had any supplementation, he never helped me with my rent, I never had a trust fund." But I'm not convinced she didn't get a huge head start. And at number 9, full of herself. Since Gwyneth is an A-list actress, it makes sense that she has insane amounts of confidence, but some of her comments about herself have made people roll their eyes. She once stated that she had the quote butt of a 22-year-old stripper with a completely serious face. She also talks of her ability to stay fit and eat clean like it's not something that has happened in part because of her privileged life. She told Elle, quote, "It's so much easier to sit home and not exercise and criticize other people. What I love is inspiring people." She then commented, quote, "I am who I am. I can't pretend to be somebody who makes $25,000 a year." Even adding that working as an actress as a mother is, quote, much harder than having a regular job and being a parent, which is total BS. And at number 8, Goop. Gwyneth started the Goop blog as a way to connect with her fans and share tips on how to live like her. But then things got a little too wacky and Gwyneth started to promote questionable and scammy products. Some of these products are a candle that smells like a vajayjay and a jade egg that's inserted up there to balance your hormones. But not only are these products strange, some of them can actually be dangerous. And the worst part is that almost nothing that Goop promotes is backed by science, but the site makes their claims as fact. Medical professionals have even gone out of their way to disavow many of the claims that Gwyneth makes on her blog. The company was even forced to pay $145,000 to settle a false advertising lawsuit. And at number 7, out of touch. Even though Gwyneth is an A-list celebrity, which means she lives a life we can't even fathom, it seems that she is particularly out of touch. And there are endless quotes from her that people use to prove this fact. The hate against her is so bad that Star magazine gave her the title of the most hated celebrity. In response, Gwyneth said, quote, "I'm really effing good at my job. People who are interesting and good know that, and that's all that matters." Some other comments that made people cringe were when she said she would, quote, "rather die than let my kid eat a cup of soup." Someone even did a financial analysis of one of her cookbooks, and it was determined that it would cost a family roughly $300 per day to eat as Gwyneth suggests. And at number 6, Oscar curse. Many in the business did not respect Gwyneth for her acting until she won an Oscar for leading actress in the movie Shakespeare in Love. But even though she reached the peak of her celebrity after that moment, many believe she was cursed after that Oscar win. Firstly, many people in general just didn't agree with the Academy's choice. Glenn Close was even quoted saying, quote, "I remember the year Gwyneth Paltrow won over that incredible actress who was in Central Station, Fernanda Montenegro, and I thought, what? It doesn't make sense." Not only that, but the movies she starred in after the fact were all flops, and Gwyneth herself has even acknowledged that she made some really bad choices. She said that after her win she felt that she could do no wrong and she took anything that was offered to her, when those were roles she would never take today. Halfway at number 5, she disrespects her Marvel movies. One of her most notable roles was playing Pepper Potts in the MCU, but although the public has this strong affiliation, it seems that Gwyneth can hardly remember all the Marvel movies that she's been in. And a now infamous moment from Jon Favreau's cooking series The Chef Show, Favreau, who acted alongside Paltrow in Spider-Man Homecoming, brought up a moment from the film. Gwyneth then told him that she wasn't in that movie, which is odd because she was. She later addressed the mix-up on Jimmy Kimmel, where she said she was confused because she thought he was talking about the Avengers movies. She then revealed she's never even seen Spider-Man Homecoming at all. And if that's true, I guess it makes sense that Tom Holland, who plays Spider-Man, had to reintroduce himself to Gwyneth when she forgot who he was. And at number 4, entitled. Gwyneth usually has a pretty good relationship with the media because of her famous connections, but that all changed when she had an incident with Vanity Fair that gave her a bad name in the industry. Apparently, the entire feud between them was because the magazine published a story about Gwyneth that was not approved by her. And although it's a nice gesture for a magazine to show you their stories beforehand, it is certainly not something that celebrities are entitled to. Gwyneth was asked by the magazine's editor to collaborate on the content for their cover story, but Gwyneth decided to refuse because they had recently done an unflattering story on one of her ex-partners, Brad Pitt. When Paltrow turned down the offer, he decided to go along with publishing the piece anyways, much to Paltrow's dismay. In response to this, Gwyneth sent out an email to a slew of her A-list friends, telling them to blacklist the magazine, saying in part that the magazine quote threatened to put me on the cover. Quite a threat. And at number 3, she's a diva on set. This one isn't much of a shocker, but apparently she's a real pain on set. I can imagine things were worse after her Oscar win. She was always used to having things go her way because of her famous parents, but on set she would demand to have the best lighting in every single shot and get in everyone's face to make sure she looked better than all her co-stars. Her diva attitude also transferred over to everyday life. According to the Daily Mail, when she visits the spa, Paltrow demands that the shower stalls are cleaned out before she even steps foot in them. She also constantly demands to be paid the most on her movies, even though so few of them are box office hits. In at number 2, Weinstein connection. Gwyneth has a very controversial relationship with disgraced producer Harvey Weinstein. Her and Weinstein were pretty closely tied because they worked together on Shakespeare in Love, along with a handful of other projects. But she did make quite a statement when she decided to speak out against him when other women were coming forward with their stories. She revealed that she had also been put in uncomfortable situations by him, and that's the reason that she stopped working with him. Although many people supported her courageous decision, a lot of people felt it was BS because she had supported him for so many years beforehand when his behavior was basically an open secret. And finally at number 1, she's not a good lead. Gwyneth has starred in a lot of movies over the years, but it seems that the movies where she plays the lead roles do the worst, and the ones where she's the background character get the most traction. This has somewhat given her a reputation of not being able to lead a movie, especially since the few times that she has tried to headline a movie, the results have been pretty bad. And even though she won an Oscar, it hasn't propped up her image in the industry much because many felt that Miramax essentially bought her the Oscar to promote the movie, which if you didn't already know is something that happens quite often.
In at number 10, Thomas Gibson. After 11 seasons with the show Criminal Minds, actor Thomas Gibson was fired from the CBS drama. Thomas appeared on 2 more episodes, but those were used as a way to properly cut his character of Aaron Hotchner out of the show. His firing came after the network conducted an internal investigation and found that Gibson had kicked a producer on the show. He was allegedly known for his violent outbursts with the assistant director as well. But instead of firing him back then when that happened, they just sent him to anger management classes. Apparently that and a suspension, though, didn't stop his volatile behavior while on set. They've been protecting this guy for a long time as well. In 2013, he was arrested in downtown Los Angeles on suspicion of drunk driving after his car ran through a barricade during a marathon event. And after getting fired from this long-running TV show, it's hard to imagine anyone in Hollywood wanting to hire him again. In at number 9, Jake Paul. This one is a bit of a no-brainer, and especially after he was arrested for being involved with the looting that took place in Arizona. Although he denies these charges, he certainly was part of the unlawful assembly and trespassing. Jake hasn't acted in anything produced by Hollywood since at least 2018 and is mainly focused on his YouTube content. But I highly doubt that he would be able to restart a career as an actor though, just based on his reputation alone. As I mentioned earlier with the Thomas Gibson point, not a lot of casting directors want to attach their name to troubled talent. Jake Paul not only has been known for stirring up controversy, but overall he seems like he would just be kind of unreliable, especially considering the amount of focus required for acting in a big Hollywood production. I don't even know if he wants to act anymore, but I feel like his fate as an actor has already been sealed for him, unless he's able to find, someone crazy enough to work with him, and then fund the whole thing himself. In at number 8, Leah Remini. Leah Remini is a great comedic actor and has gone on to act in a multitude of Hollywood productions after her successful run with the show King of Queens. Unfortunately for Leah, she was also raised with the teaching of the Church of Scientology. After many years with the organization, she started to realize how corrupt everything truly was. Taking a break from acting, she began focusing on just exposing them and all of the terrible things that they do behind the scenes. Although Scientology has a giant presence in Hollywood, boasting huge members such as Tom Cruise. So when you turn your back on the church, you're also potentially turning your back on Hollywood. The Scientology celebrities, if you will, are only members that we're just hyper aware of, but there could most definitely be directors or producers involved that just aren't very public about it. So you gotta figure that they won't hire her out of fear of backlash from the church itself. In at number 7, James Franco. No matter how many accusations come out against James Franco, he seems to just shrug them off and keep acting. So far, he has 2 productions scheduled to be released in 2020, but as time goes on and more people begin speaking out, we could see the end of his career. The only way I could see him continuing to act is by paying for most of the production himself. After allegations of inappropriate behavior and assault came out, Franco fired back at them with his own legal team. A lot of these allegations were coming from former students of his, and his response was to say that they were hungry for attention. The plaintiff's attorney said that Franco was using an aggressive effort to position himself as the victim and therefore smear the reputation of the survivors that have come forward. This is a common tactic used by perpetrators of wrongdoing, and only time will tell if he is indeed innocent, although he does have a long track record of just creepy behavior that he is still yet to respond to. For example, the underage girl that he was trying to meet up with through Instagram. When you have an actor that has accusations like this dating back to 2014, it's hard to imagine wanting to hire them for anything. In at number 6, Amber Heard. Although it has still not been confirmed as to whether or not Heard will star in Aquaman 2, it's safe to say that it's the last thing that audiences want. Amber Heard proved how terrible she was as an actor when she staged her assault by Johnny Depp. Not only was Depp fired from the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise for her op-ed piece in the Washington Post, but he faced a ton of defamation from news outlets as well. As more and more information comes out about the incident between these two, it's going to be harder and harder for Heard to refute them. She's already said so much stuff publicly about the case and has been caught lying multiple times. She said that she would donate the divorce settlement, and she never did. She said that Depp left a mark under her eye from his assault, but then it turned out that she used makeup for that. And then to make matters worse, Heard was also caught on tape admitting to abusing Johnny Depp. And there's just so much controversy surrounding her name right now that there is no way that anyone in Hollywood, again, wants to attach themselves to her. Because that's what you do when you hire someone like Amber Heard. In number 5, Ansel Elgort. Ansel Elgort, known for his roles in Baby Driver and The Fault in Our Stars, is now facing allegations of sexual assault that he vehemently opposes. The woman said that she was only 17 at the time and Ansel was in his 20s when he assaulted her. Along with posting her detailed account of what happened, she also encouraged other victims of his to step forward. In response to this, Ansel was gaslighting to the max. Instead of directly addressing what she had claimed, he decided to change the narrative to being a bad breakup that she just couldn't handle. All this does is allow his fans now to pile on this poor girl and say that she's just chasing clout. I do believe that much like the situation with Johnny Depp, we need to wait to hear the other side before judging the court of public opinion. That being said, he did really use some manipulation tactics in his apology to make himself feel better about the situation. Unless definitive evidence comes out proving his innocence, I don't know if Hollywood will ever cast him again. In at number 4, Danny Masterson. Danny, who is best known for his role as Stephen Hyde on That 70s Show, is recently charged with 3 counts of rape. So far, there have been 3 victims that have stepped forward with separate incidents that occurred between 2001 and 2003. All the alleged crimes are believed to have taken place at his home in the Hollywood Hills. If convicted, he's looking at a sentence of 45 years to life in a state prison. For those of you who don't know, Danny is also involved with the Church of Scientology. After the charges were laid against him, Leo Remini took to Twitter with joy that the victims of Scientology are finally being heard. This is most definitely an insinuation that the church had previously covered up what Danny had been doing in order to protect their image and his image. Although we cannot confirm these claims, it does seem like something that they would do. Back in 2017, he was fired from the Netflix show called The Ranch amid these allegations, and he is still denying any of the claims made by these women. But with that much heat on him, it's unlikely that his acting career will continue. In at number 3, Jussie Smollett. Jussie Smollett used to be known as the musician Jamal Lyon on the Fox drama series Empire. At the start of January, he had gone to the Chicago PD to report that he had been assaulted in the early morning hours. He claimed that 2 white men wearing MAGA hats attacked him after uttering racial and homophobic slurs. He then claimed that they poured bleach on him and tied a rope around his neck. Although after the police had investigated the case, they found that Jussie had paid 2 Nigerian-American brothers who worked as extras on Empire to help him stage the attack. Near the end of February, he was indicted for disorderly conduct for allegedly paying those brothers to stage a fake hate crime and therefore filing a false police report. This scandal, however, ruined his chances with acting. In June of 2019, it was announced that Smollett would not be returning to the show even after his charges were dropped. Well, they reached a deal with prosecutors, I should say. He had to pay his $10,000 bond and do some community service. However, it will be a very long time before we see him back in Hollywood. In number 2, Chris D'Elia. Actor and comedian Chris D'Elia just recently was part of the Netflix show called You. In the show, he played a comedian that was also grooming underage girls. Turns out he's been method acting this whole time. D'Elia has been accused of grooming and attempting to solicit nude photographs from underage girls. A woman named Simone tweeted out a screenshot of her alleged interactions with Chris, which began a thread of other women sharing their interactions friends with him as well. The stories are all pretty horrific considering that these girls were all under the age at the time that Chris had sent these messages to them. On top of that, people close to him like Whitney Cummings have spoken out against him. With the Me Too movement in full force, you'll be hard pressed to have any female actor wanting to work alongside him ever again. He'll just be labeled unsafe. Last but certainly least, in our number one spot, Kevin Spacey. Kevin for a long time was by far the most demanded actor of his generation. His library of roles was huge and his fame made the actor seem untouchable. Then actor Anthony Rapp came forward and accused Spacey of forcing himself on him when he was only 14 years old. Following that, 15 other men came forward accusing Spacey of a similar experience. His career was pretty much canceled at that point, but Kevin found a way to make things even worse for himself. In his apology, he took a moment to come out as gay, for which the LGBTQ community just denied any association. As a result of these accusations, Spacey was fired from the Netflix show called House of Cards and was removed from the film All the Money in the World. Safe to say that the only acting work he'll be doing is, well, on his YouTube page. Once a year, oddly enough.
Starting off our list at number 10 is Dylan Sprouse, who we all came to know and love in the Disney hit The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. Or if you watch the TV show Friends, you would have known him as Ben, Ross's little son. After him and his twin brother Cole grew out of Disney Channel, they both went on to start their own acting careers as individuals. You can find his brother Cole in the hit TV series Riverdale, but you can't find Dylan in anything these days. Don't get me wrong, Dylan has been in the media over the years, but it hasn't been good attention. It started in 2013 when he dealt with a nude photo scandal. The leak of his nudes almost shut down the entire internet. The Disney star was seen by the world with his pants down, literally, when the pictures were leaked. He owned up to his actions and made humor of the situation by tweeting out sarcastic remarks like, "Whoops, guess I'm not 14 and fat anymore." His scandals continued, but his acting career didn't. In 2017, he was caught in a huge cheating scandal with his then girlfriend Dana Frazier. She had posted a picture on her Instagram of her crying and the caption read, "You find out your boyfriend cheated on you, lol." The story blew up and Dylan tweeted his side to the story, which only caused more negative attention on him. Ever since, he is still working in the acting industry, booking smaller roles and working on some short films. It's a shame we won't find him on the screen like his twin brother. At number 9 we have Mitchel Musso, best known as Miley Cyrus's best friend Oliver Oaken in the Disney show Hannah Montana. After Hannah Montana ended, he continued to do some other work on the Disney Channel, but once he grew out of it, that's where his acting career quickly faded out. His career took a big hit because in 2011, while still filming with Disney, he was arrested in Burbank, California on October 16th. Apparently, he didn't slow down for a police officer who was directing traffic for an accident, which had Mitchell pulled over. That's when they found out that his blood alcohol level was higher than the legal limit. Not only that, but Musso was under the legal drinking age of 21, so any alcohol in his system would have been charged as illegal anyways. He was charged with a maximum of 6 months in jail and a $1,000 fine for both misdemeanor counts. Some believe he should have been charged more since it was technically a DUI and he could have killed someone. He was released on $5,000 bail and returned back to court in November. He hasn't had much of a career ever since. He finished some work voicing on the show Phineas and Ferb back in 2014. Since then, between the years 2016 to 2018, he did voiceover work for 3 episodes on a TV show called Milo Murphy's Law. I've never heard of it. Have you? Taking over the number 8 spot is Annalise Vanderpool, known as her role as Chelsea Daniels on Disney's hit That's So Raven. I loved her on the show. I thought she was absolutely hilarious. And I always wondered what happened to her after the show ended. Well, apparently what happened was that in 2006 she was arrested for driving under the influence with a whopping blood alcohol level of 0.19, with the legal limit being 0.08. Yikes, there is no flirting your way out of that one. She was arrested on July 10th after colliding with a parked car, which caused a domino effect in which she hit 2 additional vehicles as well. The police report states after hitting the parked vehicle, the defendant then lost control of her vehicle, traveled across the roadway, and finally collided with another vehicle. The court offered her 26 months probation and ordered her to pay $2,844 in fines and required her to attend and complete an alcohol education program. There was no way this wouldn't affect her career. Over the years, she continued working in the industry, but nothing in Hollywood that brought her to the big screen. She did return to Disney Channel with the spin-off for That's So Raven as her returning character as Chelsea. So it looks like Disney is giving her a second chance, but she'll only ever be known for her one role. She has yet to make her mark in Hollywood. And in all honesty, they couldn't cast anyone else for her returning role because that just wouldn't make any sense. In at number 7, we have Ryan Merriman. He might be known for his starring role in the movie Final Destination 3, however, before that he was a star on the Disney Channel. If you are a true Disney Channel fan, you would have seen him in the movies Smart House, The Luck of the Irish, and A Ring of Endless Light. But like the other Disney stars on this list, he also found himself in trouble with the law. Back in 2011, he was arrested in Newport Beach after police suspected he was driving under the influence. It seems to be a pattern with these celebrities and feeling the need to drive drunk. According to the reports that TMZ shared, he was originally pulled over because he didn't stop behind the line at a red light. Once the cops began talking to him, they suspected he wasn't sober. He was arrested and taken to a nearby police station where he spent the night in jail. It seems like spending some time in a jail cell was a wake-up call for him because he hasn't been in trouble with the law ever since. During the arrest, he was filming some episodes for his supporting role on Pretty Little Liars. After his time on the show, he went on to book some short movies and pilot TV series, but nothing that was produced by Hollywood directors or any that made it to a big screen. His latest booking was in 2018, where he was the host for a game show called The Jurassic Games. It's nice to see him still pursuing acting, but it's a shame that his last major Hollywood booking was back in 2014 when his role on Pretty Little Liars ended. Up next at number 6, we have Misha Barton. She's mostly known for her role on the TV series The OC, but it was the Disney Channel that threw her into the spotlight. At the age of 17, she took the lead role in the Disney Channel movie A Ring of Endless Light, same one our number 6 actor starred in as well. Most young girls would have killed for her place in the spotlight, but when she looks back on it, she says that time took a turn for the worse. She claims her mentality at the time was work hard, play hard. She said she also felt intense pressure from her popularity, and she could feel that she was headed towards a mental breakdown. Her successful acting career continued after she moved on from Disney, and so did her partying. In 2007, she was arrested for a DUI, and then 2 years later she blacked out while taking a sedative and ended up in the Cedars-Sinai Medical Center psychiatric ward. The star began threatening suicide and couldn't handle all the criticism she was facing from the media. She took time to work on herself and also her career. After The OC, she went on to book some acting work, but nothing that you would probably know of. Her IMDb shows a long list of bookings, but they are all for small projects, short videos, or movies that never came out. Rumor has it we might see her face pop up in the MTV reality series The Hills New Beginnings. But she wasn't hired as an actor, she just so happens to hang around some of the other celebrities that are in the show. Halfway through our list at number 5 is Debby Ryan. She first stole our hearts when she joined the Disney cast on The Sweet Life on Deck and became the newest Disney darling. She starred alongside the Sprouse twins until the series ended, and she landed her own lead role in her own series called Jessie. For years she was holding that innocent and clean image that Disney had, but that went out the window when she got arrested. Back in 2016, TMZ reported that the 22-year-old actress was driving in LA around 11 p.m. when she made a left turn and slammed into a Mercedes. The driver in the other car claims they got hurt, which caused cops to arrest Ryan for a felony DUI. Not just a DUI, a felony DUI. This broke the news, which completely shattered her Disney star reputation that everyone knew her for. Once the police found out the injury was minor, her charge was brought down to a misdemeanor. Her report also confirmed that her blood alcohol level was 0.11, which was over the legal limit, proving that she was in fact driving under the influence when she hit the other car. She was charged with 2 criminal offenses and tried to save her career by taking it to Twitter, apologizing for her actions and saying she hopes she can make things better. She booked a few short films in 2017 and was given another chance in 2018, where she worked on the Netflix series Insatiable. Turns out it didn't do so well, and another season was not picked up. It received a whopping 12% on Rotten Tomatoes. Sliding into the number 4 spot is David Henry, best known for his role on the Disney show Wizards of Waverly Place, where he acted alongside Selena Gomez, playing her older brother. He has always presented himself in a mature and responsible manner, but I guess he is an actor. Fans were shocked when the news broke that Henry ended up in jail. It first started in 2010 when David and his younger brother Lorenzo were arrested and held at the jail for starting a domestic fight. Turns out what happened was that security guards had pinned his brother to the ground because he was acting out of control. David began yelling and acting aggressive towards the security guards, who ended up throwing punches back and forth with him. The two brothers were eventually released, and the Disney star faced a lot of heat from the industry and fans. His career never took off after that, and if he was going to make a comeback, he ruined it last year in 2018 when he was arrested once again for possession of a loaded gun. In September of 2017, 2017, he was arrested at 9:05 a.m. at Terminal 2 in the LAX airport. TSA officers went through his bag and found the firearm, where he was then sent to the LAPD Pacific Division Jail. He was eventually released with his court date where he will face charges for the loaded firearm. He took it to Twitter saying he unintentionally brought his gun, which he legally owns and is registered to his name. Now is not the time to be arrested having a gun. Not a good look. Alright guys, at number 3 we have Brian Bonsall, who you might recognize as the boy from Disney Channel's iconic movie Blank Check. It was the hilarious movie where his character was mistakenly given $1 million and he goes on that epic kid shopping spree. We all envied him as kids, let's not pretend. His career took off and he ended up taking lead roles in the TV series Family Ties and also Star Trek: The Next Generation. Most would say that he was on top of the world. Apparently that was all ending sooner than we all thought, as he began turning to punk rock, partying, and drugs by moving home to Colorado and attending school like a regular kid. On March 28, 2007, he was first arrested on charges of assaulting his girlfriend. He was found guilty and sentenced to 2 years of probation on August 31st. Only 2 years later, he was arrested again. On December 7, 2009, Bonsall was arrested for third-degree assault and failure to appear in connection with the 2007 assault with his other girlfriend. Just when you think it doesn't get any lower than that, in February 2010, he was arrested on charges for using marijuana in violation of the terms of his release. He was sentenced to another 2 years of probation in April, so I think it's safe to say he won't be making a comeback anytime soon with a record history like that. In at number 2 we have Lelaine, who you might know as Hilary Duff's BFF in the Disney series Lizzie McGuire. The show skyrocketed the whole cast into fame and it appeared like the world was at their fingertips. However, not long after the show stopped airing, Lelaine completely vanished from the public eye. She didn't even appear in the big screen release of the Lizzie McGuire movie. She did an interview with Huffington Post where she refers to the years after Disney Channel as dark. She claims she went nuts and made bad decisions, one of them which had her get arrested for the felony possession of crystal meth in 2008. Things got even worse for the young starlet as she was a no-show for her court date appearance. That's when the judge issued a $50,000 bench warrant for her arrest. Last we heard about the case was that she enrolled in the Asian American Drug Abuse Program. Her IMDb shows that she is now working on some smaller projects, but her record remains with a serious felony charge that she can't undo. Taking the number 1 spot on our list is Stoney Westmoreland in the Disney show Andy Mack. I think we often forget that not all Disney stars are kids. The young characters we all love have to have parents, teachers, and older influences in their lives, right? Well, that's where Westmoreland comes in, as he plays the grandfather on the hit show. On December 15th, 2018, he was arrested for allegedly trying to have sex with a person he believed was just 13 years old. Keep in mind, he is 49 years old. While chatting with the teen online, Utah police say he sent pornographic photos to the minor and asked the teen to engage in sexual acts with him and also send nude photos. On his way over to meet the teen, he was in a ride-sharing service where investigators say he planned to bring her to his hotel room, which is when the Salt Lake City Police Department and FBI Child Exploitation Task Force arrested him. He was charged with 4 counts that are all considered third-degree felonies. Following his arrest, Disney Channel confirmed that his role on the show has been terminated. I don't think we'll be seeing him in Hollywood anytime soon.
Alright, starting off number 10, we have Lea Michele. Lea Michele was exposed in the light of the George Floyd protests when multiple former Black Glee cast members spoke about how she was microaggressive towards them, with one actor stating that Michele made her quote first television gig a living hell, and even made her question a career in Hollywood. After even more people spoke out against Lea, she decided to apologize with a long note to social media, but there were a lot of issues with that apology, one being that she used the word perceived, making it seem like a non-apology, with the statement reading, quote, "The responses I received to what I posted have made me also focus specifically on how my own behavior towards fellow cast members was perceived by them." And obviously after a huge scandal like this, it's not hard to assume that studios will be distancing themselves from Michele, especially since claims of her being a diva, stuck up, and just generally rude on set are not new. And at number 9, Chris Pratt. The cancellation of Chris Pratt really started when a tweet went viral telling people that one Chris had to go. And out of Chris Hemsworth, Chris Pine, and Chris Evans, Chris Pratt was labeled the worst Chris in Hollywood. And for people like me that never really knew much of backlash against Chris Pratt, it was a bit of a shock, until people started to expose things from his past. One of the main things Chris has been called out for is being allegedly homophobic and attending a church that is notoriously anti-LGBTQ. Actor Elliot Page has also called out Pratt in the past, in one tweet writing that Pratt's church is, quote, infamously anti-LGBTQ in a 2019 tweet, with Pratt responding, quote, nothing could be further from the truth. People even started to say that Chris Pratt was a Trump supporter, even though he's never publicly supported Trump. And even though Chris Pratt has continued to deny these claims, he was still cancelled on Twitter. And as for his career, it doesn't seem that these claims will be affecting it much. However, if backlash against him ever becomes too big for the studios to handle, it wouldn't be crazy to think they would cut ties. And at number 8, Vanessa Hudgens. So I think we all know about her coronavirus blunder, and even though she apologized, it still could negatively impact her career, especially because her image before was pretty squeaky clean. For a refresher on the scandal, Vanessa was on Instagram Live when coronavirus was first getting serious, and when talking about the virus, she said, quote,
but like, it's a virus, I get it, like, I respect it.
She didn't understand why we had to stay home because the disease might be deadly, but death is inevitable for everyone. Saying, quote, even if everybody gets it, like, yeah, people are gonna die, which is terrible, but inevitable. Basically insinuating that we shouldn't take the virus very seriously. And since we had really no true idea of how deadly the virus was at that time, people obviously began to point out how ridiculous and insensitive those comments were. She of course apologized, saying her words were taken out of context, but even with context, the comments were just really ignorant and just honestly made like no sense. I watched it back like 5 times and I was like, what is she trying to say? I really didn't understand. And honestly, the worst part about all of this was that these comments were made after Coachella was canceled. So she was literally saying all this because she couldn't go to an overhyped music festival. And at number 7, Sebastian Stan. Sebastian Stan was actually canceled because of his girlfriend's actions, which I think might be a first in terms of cancellations. This all went down when an old photo of her and a friend dressed up as geishas with the caption, quote, Asian night was unearthed. And people were mad that Stan commented on the photo and clearly saw it, but didn't make any mention that it could be cultural appropriation. People then flocked to Stan's social media accounts, insisting he denounced the photo of Oniva. Stan blocked some of them, only making the cancellation worse. And when people noticed that they were being blocked by the actor, the hashtag, quote, Sebastian Stan is over party started trending. One tweet in particular went viral, saying, quote, Sebastian took his time to speak on BLM, went to Ibiza during a pandemic, went clubbing, didn't wear a mask when he was out, and now his girlfriend got exposed for being a racist. Now that people are calling them out, they've started blocking fans. And obviously backlash like that might make a big difference in casting decisions. And at number 6, Amber Heard. Amber Heard was exposed like none other when leaked audio showed her being verbally abusive to her ex, Johnny Depp, as well as admitting to being physical with him as well. And before this audio was leaked, public support was more so on Heard's side, and Johnny Depp was the one being blacklisted from Hollywood. But now that the truth seems to be out, public support has swayed to Johnny Depp. In the audio, Heard admitted to hitting Johnny and mocked him, saying that no one would ever believe his side, making it clear that she was not the victim in any way, and she seemed to be the one that actually abused Johnny. Fans were excited at the prospect of Johnny getting justice in court, but sadly he lost his court battle with the Sun. But regardless, people don't trust Amber Heard anymore, and people that supported her in the past are now turning. Also, fans want her out of the Aquaman franchise, with the petition to have her removed currently having over 1.7 million signatures and growing fast. And it's really not hard to see her getting exiled from Hollywood when this is all over. Halfway number 5, Ellen DeGeneres. Although Ellen is more known as a TV host than an actor, she has appeared in a few movies, most notably as Dory in Finding Nemo. And she's also produced countless projects over the years. But because of her toxic workplace and two-faced scandal, her days in Hollywood might be numbered, especially since most people have not accepted her apology. And this is clear from Ellen's ratings. And USA Today reported that her show's ratings plummeted because of the scandal, with the ratings currently being 38% down from last year. And obviously everyone is attributing this drop to the scandal. And she's not even laying low either, with her recently getting in a scandal over a subscription box that she launched, with unhappy customers reporting that the items were cheaper than expected and not recommending it to other people. And at number 4, Charlie Sheen. The reason Charlie Sheen won't be hired isn't specific to 2020, but he just has such a bad reputation for numerous reasons at this point. No one would risk hiring him. Charlie was the highest paid actor on television when his show, 2.5 Men, was dominating the ratings. But now he isn't well known for his acting, but rather his public removal from the acting world. During the filming of 2.5 Men, Charlie became such a handful that he was kicked off the show. He then started to get memed online when he started saying that he had tiger blood and was, quote, hashtag winning. Do you guys remember that phase of time? I honestly completely forgot about it until I read this article and I was like, oh yeah, he used to be like the old DJ Khaled, you know, DJ Khaled with all those things. Anyway, that's my tangent. After all of that, people assumed that he'd lost his marbles and his addiction to substances was taking over his life. And based on his terrible professional behavior and likelihood of going off the rails, no studio will ever trust him again as their leading man. And at number 3, Evangeline Lilly. The Ant-Man and Lost star turned a lot of heads when she made controversial comments about the coronavirus. This all went down on Instagram, when she wrote in a caption that she wouldn't self-isolate as her freedom was more important than the pandemic. And of course, after selfish comments like that, the backlash was swift. 10 days later, she decided to apologize for the comments, saying in the apology, quote, "I thought I was infusing calm into the hysteria. I can see now I was projecting my own fears into an already fearful and traumatic situation." But the scandal also got backlash from other actors too, like Sophie Turner. And although Turner didn't call it Lilly by name, she posted a video to her Instagram story saying, quote, "Stay inside. Don't be effing stupid. Even if you count your freedom over health, I don't give an F about your freedom. You could be infecting other people, other vulnerable people around you by doing this, so stay inside, guys. It's not cool, it's not big, and it's not clever, and that's the tea." And after that, I wouldn't anticipate seeing Sophie Turner and Evangeline Lilly in a movie together anytime soon. In at number 2, Tyra Banks. Tyra Banks got in a lot of trouble this year when old clips of her on America's Next Top Model surfaced. And in the clips, she's seen talking down to the women and giving bad advice and just being a hypocrite. One viral clip shows Banks telling contestant Danielle Evans that the gap in her teeth is, quote, "not marketable," and she should close it to secure a CoverGirl contract. Then a few cycles later, Tyra told a different girl to widen her gap, making her a hypocrite. In response, Banks tweeted, quote, "Been seeing the post about the insensitivity of some past America's Next Top Model moments, and I agree with you. Looking back, those were some really off choices. Appreciate your honest feedback, and I'm sending you so much love and virtual hugs." And since these clips are old, Tyra hasn't felt much heat from them, and she is still hosting Dancing with the Stars as of now, but I doubt she will be involved in anything, model related for a while following the scandal, especially not judging anything model related. And in at number 1, Florence Pugh. Florence Pugh was caught up in some backlash in June of 2019 when she was called out for being racially insensitive when she was younger, with people calling her out for wearing cornrows in the past. In a statement she posted to Instagram, she admitted to wearing cornrows and Rastafarian attire when she was younger in a way that, quote, "was respectful in how I was using it." Adding, quote, "Stupid doesn't even cut it. I was uneducated. I was unread. I could not dismiss the actions I bought into years ago. But I believe that we who are blind to such things must acknowledge them and recognize them as our faults, our ignorance and our white privilege, and I apologize profusely that it took this long." And because of how sincere the apology was, most people seemed to accept the mistake and gave her room to grow. In at number 10, post-Oscars flop. When Jennifer Lawrence was the highest paid actress in the world, she was the face of huge films like The Hunger Games and Silver Linings Playbook. But after she won an Oscar for her role in Silver Linings Playbook, her career has flatlined. Pretty much every movie that she's done since then has not taken off, and none of the films have gotten her much critical acclaim or commercial success. She even did a space movie called Passengers with Chris Pratt, and you'd think a movie with such huge stars would be a success, but again, it flopped and was widely disliked. After this, studios weren't willing to take the risk of having Jennifer be their leading lady anymore. And at number 9, she overshares. Jennifer shares relatable anecdotes all the time to appear relatable to her fans, but sometimes she overshares and it backfires. One of her worst scandals happened when she admitted that she disrespected the Hawaiian culture while filming The Hunger Games. Basically, Jen was filming in Hawaii, and in the movie she wears wetsuits a lot, which can get pretty itchy. So in 2016 on The Graham Norton Show, she admitted that she had scratched her butt on some sacred ceremonial rocks while filming in Hawaii. She said, quote, "There were sacred rocks, I don't know, they were ancestors, who knows? They were sacred, and you're not supposed to sit on them because you're not supposed to expose your genitalia to them. I, however, was in a wetsuit for this whole shoot. Oh my god, they were so good for butt itching." Apparently, she even moved the rocks so much that one came loose and started a landslide. The Hawaiian people thought it was a sign of a curse, but it was just Jen being disrespectful. After the backlash, she posted an apology to Facebook, but many did not buy it. And at number 8, Mother. The film Mother was supposed to be an artsy film to get Jen's career back on track, but it did the opposite. After having box office failures with huge movies, she decided to go back to her indie roots and work alongside her boyfriend at the time. The movie is a disturbing avant-garde horror film that gave her the space to be a dramatic actor, but after its release it was widely hated by audiences and critics alike. The whole plot of the movie was criticized, as well as Jennifer's performance. At the end of the day, it didn't get her career back on track, and it kinda confirmed that she was on the decline. And at number 7, public persona. After Jennifer became incredibly famous for her acting, her loud and goofy personality seemed to captivate the world, and it started to make her less believable as an actress. She was given the persona of a cool girl who would say whatever was on her mind, get drunk, and make risque jokes. And even though many loved it at first, the public started to get annoyed with it pretty fast. And pretty much anything she does now to seem quirky and relatable is criticized in the media, claiming she's just trying too hard. Even her infamous fall at the Oscars is deemed to be fake, and people think she concocted the whole thing for attention. All this isn't good if you're trying to act in serious roles, and most well-respected actors do their best to have as little media presence as possible. And at number 6, taking a break. Jennifer has not started a movie since 2018 and has taken a step back from the industry. She revealed why on the Absolutely Not podcast in October of 2020, saying, quote, "I realized that I needed to take some time." She explained, "I mean, we all felt that like everybody needed a break and the public needed a break from me. I needed a break." She revealed that she got wrapped up in the Hollywood machine when she took consecutive projects after she got her big break, adding, quote, "I realized that once you go into this machine, it just doesn't stop," adding that it feels like you need to take every opportunity presented to you until you're totally wrapped up in it. Finishing off that her career was taking on a life of its own and she needed time to go off to make some changes. But in Hollywood, out of sight is out of mind, and she's in jeopardy of being forgotten about. Halfway at number 5, Hollywood enemies. Since Jennifer is so vocal and constantly covered in the media, she's gotten into some feuds over the years. One was with Anderson Cooper, who made some shady comments about her Oscars fall. When Jen was accepting her Oscar in 2013 for Best Actress, she fell while walking up to the stage. After the shocking fall, many weren't sure if it was real or just faked for attention. One of those people was CNN host Anderson Cooper. On a podcast, Lawrence spoke of how she saw Cooper talking about it a few days later, and she was hurt by his remarks that the fall could have been fake, saying, quote, "It was so devastating because it was this horrific humiliation to me that took away. I don't know if I'll ever have the chance to make a speech like that again. It didn't feel good for me not to have a speech." Apparently, Lawrence later confronted Cooper at a Christmas party, with a source saying she was really fired up while confronting him. But apparently they're all good now, and Anderson sincerely apologized for his statements. And at number 4, insensitive comments. Jennifer is known for her unfiltered comments, but in this day and age that can get you in a lot of trouble, and she's constantly called out for her insensitive comments. The worst were her comments on Lindsay Lohan. While Jennifer Lawrence was on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert to promote a movie in 2015, Lawrence offended Lindsay Lohan and her family. It started when Lawrence was talking about how she got a stomach virus while filming, but she still kept shooting. Then she made the comment, quote, "I get like Lindsay Lohan grade exhaustion, but without any drugs or alcohol." And obviously, even though she was just joking, those kind of words will start a fight. Almost right after the show aired, Lohan's younger sister, Elena, tweeted out, quote, "I never breathe life into negativity, but I stand by my family. Disappointed in Jennifer Lawrence, not cool." Lindsay Lohan then replied to that tweet saying, quote, "Thank you, sister. Maybe who you're referring to should learn to support others like Maya Angelou." So it's clear Lindsay and Jen are not on good terms. And at number 3, crass. Along with being generally insensitive, Jennifer can also be very crass. Jen stirred up a lot of drama with reality star Lala Kent during her appearance on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen. It started when Andy was asking Jennifer what she thought of the cast of Vanderpump Rules. When the conversation went to Lala, Lawrence straight up called her the C word, the see you next Tuesday word, along with tons of other digs at her. As a response, Lala tweeted out, quote, "Did Jennifer Lawrence really just call me the C word on Watch What Happens Live and talk about my mama? She better pray I don't see you in the streets." This was just the first of a long string of now deleted tweets. The shade did not stop there though. Lala then went on the Juicy Scoop podcast and called out Jennifer further. She said that Jennifer had 2 failed films in a row and said she was the type of girl who would sleep with Harvey Weinstein for a role. Lawrence never responded to the shade, but Lala still brings it up anytime she's asked about it. And at number 2, rude to fans. I'm sure it's annoying and even somewhat scary to get approached by fans when out in public, but most celebrities recognize that fans should be appreciated, but not Jennifer. She's actually admitted to being rude to fans when they come up to her, so they'll leave her alone. Jennifer says it's her way to defend herself against fans and paparazzi who might want too much from her. In an interview with Variety, she said, quote, "I just generally, once I enter a public place, I become incredibly rude. That's kind of like my only way of defending myself." Even adding that if she sees a fan coming to her table, she'll start wagging her finger and making a mean face. She also bluntly responds no when people ask her for selfies. And over time, fans aren't happy about this harsh attitude and will probably turn on her. And finally, number 1, unprofessional. Even though it looks easy, being an actress is a lot of work. Specifically learning lines and figuring out what you want to do with the lines before you even show up to film. But even though Jen is an Academy Award winner, she does not memorize her lines before showing up to set. Jen was speaking about this in an interview, saying, quote, "My friend was over and she was like, 'What scene are you doing tomorrow?' And I was like, I don't know, is that bad? Is there a point in my career where I should start learning my lines for work?" And she was like, "Well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it." When asked another time about the fact that she doesn't memorize lines, she said, quote, "I look over the script, but I don't sit there memorizing. I read it, I know where I'm going, I know what it's about." Even adding, quote, "I do as little work as possible, definitely." Clearly this strategy has worked for her, but I can't imagine the other actors and the director don't appreciate that she's not following the script like they are.